Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Your host, Derek Champagne, is the founder and CEO of The Artist Evolution, a full-service agency building successful brands, marketing tools, and campaigns, and also the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. I'm your host, Derek Champagne. This week we have Tom Hunt. He's a TEDx speaker. He's the founder of Virtual Valley. It's a platform that connects entrepreneurs and Rockstar Virtual Assistants with the mission of giving entrepreneurs back 1 million hours of their time by 2018. Tom, welcome to the program today.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Derek.
So I want to hear more about your journey, and we were talking right before this interview started about the startup's bootstrap journey to a 7-figure exit, where you're actually documenting the progress of this business from start to actually selling, and it's a completely honest, open transparency that you're blogging, and I've not seen that done before, and it's really a cool and unique concept.
Yeah, maybe too open and transparent. So we share some really open stuff, like the most open or risky thing we did was episode number 11 on our podcast. We got our first paying customer live on the podcast. I spoke to him for about 2 minutes before we went live, and to get some honest feedback about the platform that we built. And fortunately, most of it was positive, but there were some constructive points in there as well.
Okay, well, so that's an interesting way to get the feedback on a podcast, right?
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. Tell me about your background, and then tell us what got you to where you are today, where you actually founded Virtual Valley.
Yeah, sure. So, when you hear the entrepreneurial story, like by Gary Vaynerchuk or Warren Buffett, and they were like selling newspapers when they were like 3 years old, right. That's like the opposite of me. Like from year 0 to year 22, I don't think I did anything entrepreneurial until me and my friends decided to start a male leggings company because of a stupid conversation on the night home from a Halloween party on a bus in London. So usually, as you may know, Derek, or from my experience, my stupid business ideas usually end up with nothing happening. Right. This was different because we had the idea. We were wearing tights actually after going to a fancy dress party, decided to start a male leggings company. And then 1 week later, we had 18 pairs of female leggings in stock that we purchased from eBay and had branded them male by drawing on our male logo to try to sell them on this trendy market in East London.
So these are leggings for men?
Leggings for men, exactly. We're trying to redefine fashion for the male.
Okay.
And can you try and guess how many pairs we sold on that fateful day in 2012?
I can't even guess. Tell me.
We sold 0 pairs, 8 hours standing in the freezing cold. However, I'll tell this story. Yeah, there is a point to this story. It's because 3 months later, we persevered, set up an e-commerce store, got actual male leggings designed, and 3 months later, we sold our first pair to someone that we didn't know.
Okay.
And it was that feeling of helping someone and receiving money in return, I guess, that really hooked me. So ever since then, I was working in the corporate world at the time. I was striving to learn about online business so that I could set up my own venture to initially replace my salary. And then I've been on a long, winding journey, I guess, for the past 4 years since selling that pair of male leggings to reach to where we are today in this conversation.
So that's really cool. So that's kind of gave you the entrepreneurial bug. And I love for our listeners that, and I was one of those that started early, but many of our listeners and many of those that I meet, they didn't. But they had an epiphany, or at some point they caught the bug, or they just couldn't get enough of it. And then that sent them on an amazing journey to do some even better things. And I've been in that same position where I've had ideas that maybe weren't the best, and I've saw them through, and I've lost money on a few and made money on a few. But they kind of got me where I am today and what I'm doing. So I love that you had that experience and you caught the bug and had to keep going after that, after you saw that you could sell something that way, develop something and sell it. So tell me about your next business.
Yeah, so let's go back to selling that pair of male leggings. So we were growing the leggings business, and because there was actually 3 of us, we were all working full-time in demanding jobs in the city of London. So we hired somebody that I'd met in the Philippines previously to handle for the admin and customer service, so we could just focus on designing male leggings and selling male leggings. And this was amazing because it's all we wanted to do. It's all we had fun doing. So while I was racking my brains for ways to add value to other startups within London so that I could build a business that would replace my salary, I thought, why not try and package up this feeling or this service and provide that to other startups, since I had been working in outsourcing and project management for these corporations. So I actually set up an outsourced service company when I would go to speak to startups in London. I'd understand what were the processes they could outsource. I'd connect them with somebody for a team that I built in the Philippines, and I'd be sort of like the middleman. And this was awesome. Like, it allowed me to leave the corporate world. But I actually realized when I left my job and we had 6 clients that I basically built myself another job because my role was integral to the business. So I decided to stop working on that, stop marketing and delivering that business, and to build a platform that would automate a lot of the actions that I was taking. We would be making a lower margin on top of the salaries of the resources, yet the business would be infinitely more scalable, which brings us to Virtual Valley that you mentioned at the start of today's show.
So your male leggings business, then you're being very humble about it, but it's doing well, right?
I guess define doing well. We keep selling more pairs every year. This year we'll probably sell 1,200 pairs of male leggings, which is, again, like, it's cool. It's like a part-time thing. We spend a couple of hours each week, me and my 2 friends, but it's not like a business I would, I don't know, like, see scaling to billions.
Right. That makes sense. So that brings us to your next business. Let's talk about Virtual Valley. Tell me more about the concept and tell me where you're at right now and just share the model with us.
Yeah, sure. So the problem that I wanted to solve, based on feedback from people I worked with in my outsourced service company, was that using the large freelancer marketplaces like Upwork is really good. Like, I use them for some stuff, but sometimes you have to spend a lot of time doing admin in order to outsource your admin work. You have to navigate your way through the database of 500,000 freelancers. You have no assurance of their quality. We decided to try and reduce this amount of admin you have to spend outsourcing admin by creating a marketplace that has a curated database. So each and every one of the virtual assistants that appear on our platform have been curated and passed through a 5-step recruitment process, which basically enables entrepreneurs to come onto the platform and hire a virtual assistant in 5 minutes and 7 clicks. At least that is the tagline on our homepage.
Wow.
So that is what we built, and it took 6 months to build it with an outsourced development team. So I had a lot of time to think about, A, recruiting the virtual assistants, but B, marketing the marketplace to the demand side. And the cornerstone for this marketing campaign, for me pushing this marketplace out in the entrepreneurial world, was to create a story that would track our journey, like the highs and the lows, all of the lessons that we learned, the people that we would meet, and produce content to document this. Because, well, there are actually probably 3 reasons for doing it. The first of which is that we were fortunate enough that the people who would be interested in that content, usually entrepreneurs, would also probably be good clients for the platform. So if you are, say, running a yoga business and you're trying to attract people to teach them about yoga, you wouldn't start a content marketing strategy based on how you're building your yoga business, right? That wouldn't make sense, because people that want to learn yoga, they want to learn about business. But we were lucky in that there was that match. That's number 1. Number 2 was to keep me and other people in the team accountable. So if you know you have to record a podcast every day or write a blog post every month, you actually are going to have to do loads of stuff. So it's like a trick to trick myself.
So you're podcasting your progress.
Yeah, so 10-minute. We release a 10-minute episode every day where actually, so if for the first, I think, 70 episodes, I gave like a 2-minute update each day on like the numbers and the metrics and what happened. I've now canceled that update and I give a more comprehensive one at the start of the week. And then the other episodes during that week are more like just one topic of something that we've learned. I don't like update that much on progress during the week anymore.
Wow. Well, I'm looking through a March update. You said maybe too open. So tell me the downside of being this open.
It is a really interesting point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because since we launched the platform and we've had probably maybe 40 to 50 entrepreneurs use virtual assistants and pass money through the platform, we've only had one person who's expressed reservations about using the platform or becoming a client because they know that we have this transparent journey and transparent mission to sell the business. So only one. Now, I know that's not indicative, and because one person voiced that opinion, there probably was a greater number that have had that opinion but didn't voice it.
Sure.
But to me, it seems like quite a small number. And so that maybe people think that because we do have that goal to exit, in order to sell a company for 7 figures, it needs to be a value-producing company, right? It can't be like some joke because no banker or person doing the due diligence would let anybody sell that. So I think the fact we've been so open about that goal has definitely helped us with the marketing.
Just tell me the vision, though. Is it twofold? Is it to build a great product, which you're doing, but also to document, as it says here, a startup's bootstrap journey into the 7 figures? Yeah. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I think the goal is to do both, right? And they're both sort of intertwined, because if we document that journey, I think that would help bring more people to experience the product, because we're creating great content. That gives us more money to invest in creating a greater product. And when we start creating a greater product, we want to share how we built that product with the world by creating that awesome content. So it's like this, I see them as very connected. Actually, the one more point I'll add about this is, while I was waiting for the platform to be built and we were building the platform, I was really, really trying to seek out content on the internet from people that had built businesses from nothing and sold them for 7 figures. Now, there definitely is some out there, like the blog for the social media company Buffer is absolutely fantastic for this. They're very brutally transparent about their journey.
Okay.
So I consumed the whole of that blog, but it wasn't like a very clear bootstrap journey from nothing without getting investment to selling for 7 figures. I couldn't find that anywhere, which is why we attempted to fill that gap.
So this is starting from no investors.
Correct. Well, yes, self-funded from the previous outsourced service company, but definitely no 6-figure investment.
That's amazing. And again, I'm just explaining to our listeners the detail, and I'll share a link later, but your updates they're very open. As we said, you've got goal updates, you've got goal pyramids, and you show the progress and bugs in the system and what you've learned. And give me a summary of what your goal was with these reports. And they're very detailed.
So the goal, I think, was that there were two. I think it was three. Create great content that could attract people to use the platform, right? Like someone who's interested in building a business may have a business, and if we can sort of help them on that journey and they grow, they might look to outsource some work to a virtual assistant, right?
Right.
So that's number one. Number two is, I'm motivated to do more work in the business if I know that I have to write a blog post about it at the end of the month, showing graphs and numbers. And then number three is is to create that content for the people that are out there, like not sure if they can do it, like are scared of failing, to hopefully inspire them to do the same thing.
I feel like the detail of your report is something that would satisfy investors. So that's an interesting approach. And so I get that. And I also get you showing it because as a business owner myself who does have some outsourced work and is always dealing with those types of challenges of in-house versus virtual, and I like seeing this side of things. It makes me more confident. So that's great to see, especially when there's more and more platforms that are showing up that you really don't know what's going on in the back end, and you're not sure. You just really don't know how far along that company is or that technology is and how useful it's going to be. So I get that. I like that. Yeah,
I really appreciate that feedback. Thank you, Derek. I hadn't really thought of it from that point of view before, but it's very useful.
Tell me any other challenges you might have had. I want to hear all the good stuff, but I also like to hear, our listeners like to hear when there's a challenge, because so many of us are at various stages of our business and different life cycles and development and testing new products and technologies. What stood out to you as the biggest challenge where you say, you know what, I wasn't necessarily expecting this, or here's something that happened that I learned from? Just give us a little insight to our listeners.
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest learning was building a technology product with freelancers that are not part of your team, that are incentivized by a fixed price and are not really aligned with the vision. It's good. It's probably a good way to start off if you don't want to give away any equity and you want to build something that works. But once you have it launched and you maybe don't have the revenue or you don't have the investment, it is, I believe, crucial to find someone technical who is aligned, that has an interest in your mission, both financially and just because they believe in it, to help you move the platform forward. And this is exactly what we did. Like, I launched the platform, was sort of like running out of money. We didn't have the revenue, obviously, because we just launched, and found it hard to incentivize the developers who had spent the 6 months building the platform to come in and help me, like, do support when stuff was breaking, when I was sharing it with the world. Now that's changed, and as we documented on the podcast and in these blog posts, we have a technical co-founder who joined last month, and now we have someone who has the technical capability but also has the belief and is incentivized. So when it's 2 a.m. and an entrepreneur can't hire a virtual assistant because there's a bug in the system, it gets sorted. So that's my biggest learning is if you are building technology, try, especially when you've launched the product, to bring someone on who is incentivized and believes.
Yeah, that's great advice, especially when when your customers that are consuming your product are using you as a technology resource and expect you to also have your technology challenges worked out.
Yes.
So they're less forgiving sometimes in a service-oriented industry that is not focused on technology.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit more about the goals that you have, where you're at towards that goal. Just kind of give me an idea of your timeline right now.
Yeah, sure. So the goal pyramid on the site sees us selling the business for $4 million in January of 2018. In order to be on target for that goal, we need to make, in July of this year, $2,200 revenue for the platform. So to quickly give an overview of the business model, an entrepreneur will hire a virtual assistant. All the time is tracked with our software, and the hourly rate includes a 20% charge for the virtual value platform. So that 20% needs to be at $2,200 in July. In April, so the last 4 months that has passed, we hit, I think, $958 of revenue. So we do have to double that in the next 3 months in order to be on target. That then doubles to $4,400 in December of this year, if we want to stay on target for that exit, if my projections are correct, at the start of January 2018. So we have made, I'm really happy with the progress. So we've grown up from like $200, $500, $700 to $900 revenue since we launched each month. But there are definitely improvements to be made in the technology, and I think in the user flow, the entrepreneur, a lot of the feedback we've had is that the user flow from signing up to hiring and working with a virtual assistant is not as intuitive as it could be. So I believe in order to hit that revenue, we need to spend a lot of time on development of the platform, which we will be doing. So
that's great. And again, it's refreshing. And we work at our agency we work with so many different businesses in different sectors. And usually numbers are guarded, and those things are stuff we hide in the war room. So I really am enjoying this approach of being so open about the numbers and hitting those. And it seems like your approach is I really like it. I mean, a lot of our clients and a lot of people we work with, we get emotionally connected to what we're doing, right? And it's our baby, and it's our invention. It birthed from an idea we had, and you brought it to reality, and it's amazing. So how do you, when you're not hitting your numbers yet, and I know you're encouraged, and it seems like you're very data and systems driven, how do you deal with disappointment, or how do you separate emotion from strategy in order to stay on track and stay focused?
Great question. I love that. Separate emotion from strategy. I think the most useful tool when you do get overcome by emotion, whether that's disappointment, stress, anxiety, is to, instead of looking forward to maybe not hitting your number in July, not hitting the revenue number, is to just look back at what you have achieved. Just under a year ago, Virtual Valley was just an idea in my head. 6 months ago, it was just some code on a server somewhere. 4 months ago, it was still some code on a server somewhere before it was launched. But now it is this system that is being used and is adding value to loads of people. So that, I believe, is my greatest strategy for those feelings of uncertainty, which I feel like every week.
Right.
Definitely.
And the good news is you're not alone. Most of us that are doing this type of work or at all of building something and are aggressive or have goals, we get that feeling. Even when I love your advice. And when you're discouraged or when you're feeling like you haven't hit it, look back, look at what you've achieved, look at what's around you. And I would expand that even to look at, as you said, look at those who are using and getting value out of it. That's a big deal. So, how did you arrive at your number of 4 million in 2018? Was that an aggressive number that you hit, or what algorithm, or how did you arrive at that number?
Yeah, a good question. So it was really not very scientific. So for some reason I unearthed some of my old goals for like my life. And one of them was to sell a business for $1 million. So I built projections that would, like the numbers over 2 years, that would sell the business in $2 million. I shared these numbers with one of my entrepreneurial friends, and he said, no, Tom, if you actually hit those numbers in your projections, your business will be worth $4 million.
Wow.
So we just changed the goal.
That's great.
Literally that simple. My projections were wrong.
So I guess it could also be said that if you're not always hitting, if you're growing and you're growing well, even if you haven't hit that number the same way, if that was a number that was contrived. And I talk in my book about setting goals, and you want to set aggressive goals. But sometimes, if you're not in shape, you can't run the full marathon, right? You've got to start with the half marathon. So I love that. So in perspective, you're building something great, even if, and you'll hit your numbers. You'll find a way to do it. But even if you didn't, it doesn't mean that what you've done is not successful. It just means that maybe the timeline or the number just wasn't quite in sync exactly on that calendar date.
I agree.
So tell me about your proudest accomplishment so far and what you're doing. Where do you get the most satisfaction out of? I know you're day to day in this, and there's day to day stresses. But when you take a step back, what makes you most satisfied?
Again, a really good question. I think it's the feeling that I get when I would say, if I've been at meetings all morning and then I log onto my computer and I open emails and I see that two virtual assistants and entrepreneurs, two sets of virtual assistants and entrepreneurs have been interacting and have hired and are starting to charge time to the VAs, charging time to the entrepreneur, and all that's happened without my direct involvement. That is definitely a massive high point. Having a system that can add value to people that doesn't have a direct relationship to the time you invest.
Right.
Is a phenomenal feeling.
That's great. That's I think what we can definitely all relate to that. So let's fast forward to 2018. You've hit your goals. You've sold your business. What's next for you?
Yeah, and I know exactly what will happen. We'll sell the business, and I'll take X amount of money, and then I'll go on holiday and sit on the beach for 2 weeks, and then I'll look at my watch or my phone and be like, okay, what do I do now? I know the real joy, I believe, in life, or the real true fulfillment comes from growth and contribution.
Yes.
So I'm sitting on a beach eating burgers and drinking sex on the beach, I'm not going to be fulfilled. So I know I will, and probably the biggest goal for wanting to sell the business is to take the money and invest in another system that will help more people.
That's awesome. And I was going to say, I bet when you're sitting on that beach, you think of your next big idea, if you don't already have 50 in the hopper by then. So that's exciting. So I want to take a few more minutes with you. What else? Tell me about your hobbies. What else do you like doing outside of specifically building this platform? And we as entrepreneurs, we get so focused on what we're doing. What else helps you decompress or find enjoyment in the other areas of your life too? Yeah,
so I like to, stimulate myself on the other levels of being, which for me is physical, emotional, and intellectual. So I like reading books. I was reading a book before this call actually called Sapiens, all about the history of Homo sapiens, which I found very eye-opening. So that's, intellectually. Emotionally, I just like going out with friends. I do having beers with my friends. And then physically, I really enjoy running.
That's great. So with all you have going on and with all the ideas that you have, and when you're developing a product like this, yes, when we're bootstrapped helps us stay focused, but as you have new ideas and as I can just imagine how many back-end things come up that you can add to this platform. How do you stay focused on the end goal and not spreading yourself thin with technology and with adding other services and bells and whistles?
This actually came up today. I have a manager in the Philippines who was giving me some feedback from some of the virtual assistants, and he was saying that they weren't happy because with Virtual Valley, there's no minimum commitment. An entrepreneur can come and hire a virtual assistant and work with them 2 hours a week if they want to. Now, this is good for the entrepreneurs, but not so good for the virtual assistants.
Right.
They want that security. So his feedback is like some of the virtual assistants are not happy because they don't have the long-term security. And so he was like, maybe we should add like a minimum amount of time they're hired for, and then we start moving towards being an outsourced service company and not a marketplace. And so I said to him, like, this is what I've done, because like, we haven't discussed this actually, but in the background, like between the Meggings company and where we are today, I've probably had 10 other online ventures that I've like invested time in for like weeks or months and then stopped, and they failed. They've been failed before, they failed after that. So I know that the key, like, all of the other large marketplaces are there because people have focused on them for years and years and years. So in answer to your question, how do you stay focused, is that I look at the numbers and I see that they're growing. So, and the feedback, so I know we're helping people. I know we have something that is validated by people paying us money. And I also know that, I actually read this on someone's LinkedIn profile the other day, that focus is the most core part of business, just as like, I can't remember the analogy he gave, but he basically said the focus for business is like the most important thing. So I cross-reference the good feedback we're getting against my own experience of dropping out with stuff and not seeing stuff through and then failing. And then like, okay, we're doing something good. Let's just keep going.
That's great. Good advice. So talk to me about, how do you get the word out? I mean, you're looking for, I guess it's twofold. You're looking for virtual assistants for the back end, but you're also looking for end users who are going to hire the assistants and connect with them. How are you currently? What's your current awareness strategy?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I had a lot of time thinking about the chicken and the egg problem when we were waiting for the marketplace to be developed. So one school of thought to solve that problem by a guy called Sanjeet Chowdhury. He has a blog called platform.info, which is amazing for anybody building a marketplace, that you choose the side that is harder to bring to the marketplace, and you bring the other side first. So I knew that it would be harder to bring entrepreneurs and virtual assistants. So that's why we recruited virtual assistants before we launched, so that they would be there when we started bringing the entrepreneurs, because I knew the entrepreneurs would be harder to get. So the virtual assistant side, we just recruit at a slow rate, like every week, and my manager in the Philippines is responsible for that, so I didn't really have much visibility. I just review the numbers and interview people rarely. So the challenge for us, or my full-time role really, is the marketing side for the entrepreneurs. Now, we have a 2-phase marketing approach, and I don't think we should go into that much detail here, but phase number 1 is like getting a baseline of SEO, social, and content, just to bring a trickle of entrepreneurs so we can build that baseline, which will make everything easier in the future, but also get their feedback and iterate platform before we move to phase 2. Great. Phase 2 has 4 different parts I'll really quickly run through because it might be interesting for any entrepreneurs listening. I'm going to experiment with Facebook ads. I'm not sure if I'd be able to get the acquisition cost that will be worth a lifetime value. We're going to build a referral system. We're going to do some cold emailing that I haven't tried out. I'm not a fan of spamming, but I think there's ways you can do it that doesn't come across as spammy. Right. And then finally, partnerships. As part of the SEO content social strategy, we've completed almost 50 guest blog posts and a number of podcast interviews. So we've created a good piece of content with influencers in the world of online business, like yourself, Derek. Right. And then as part of phase 2, we could potentially go to partners and say, let's create another piece of content, maybe a webinar, and then at the end we can sort of make an offer for Virtual Valley before we're like educating on outsourcing and systems, and then we could split the revenue at a certain percentage. And I believe that they are, so once we have that baseline, we have those relationships that we built on phase 1. Phase 2, I believe, and we have a product that people actually really like we've got the feedback and we've iterated, phase 2 will allow us to scale. That's what will happen next year if we get phase 1 right and we have the platform that we've and that people really like.
That's an interesting model. That's great. I like it. So I'm someone that likes to have things done now. It's hard for me to be patient. For many of us, it is. So when I talk about you rolling out something in 2017, I say, wow, that's hard to be patient. So how are you able to be patient for this long and to just work the plan?
Again, good question. I really like doing interviews like this because it really makes me think about what we're doing. I think having the goal, the publicly stated goal, in the goal pyramid, you'll see that we have goals for phase 1 market.
Right.
Like 100 guest content spots, like X amount of followers on Twitter, and I should really have inbound links on the site as well. I think having these public goals, because if you then like set the goal and then in 2 months you're like, actually no, the goal has changed and more than the Facebook ads, then I think it sort of, you have other people keeping you accountable to the goals that you set.
Yeah, that's great. And again, I'm impressed with the model. I know how hard it is for all of us to be patient. So I like that. And you've got it clearly stated. So you're hitting it in each phase, and that's some careful planning, and that takes a lot of patience. And so how is how big is your team?
So we have, the virtual assistants are freelancers. So I guess on our team, we have, I think, 87 virtual assistants on the platform at the moment.
Wow.
But then in terms of the team, it's just myself. It's our lovely technical co-founder, Will. It is our awesome manager in the Philippines, Xandro. And then he has an assistant called Steven that sort of supports him.
Great.
And Xandro is responsible for the supply side. They also support me with a lot of the marketing stuff as well. So
tell me about the alignment of partners. How is it a challenge to keep everybody with the same focus, or have you guys been able to keep the same vision? And I don't need all the dirty details, but I wondered how easy it is to have a goal this big and with this timeline on it and have everybody kind of stay in the lanes and so that you can keep going the right direction.
Yeah, I think with Will, our technical co-founder, we've incentivized him sufficiently with a chunk of the company. So I think he's definitely invested in the vision. Xandro, Xandro is an amazing manager. Because the vision really aligns with what he believes in and what he's trying to do really in his life, which is sort of help other people in the Philippines get regular jobs and regular work so they can improve their lives. Then I think really the answer is, I think people whose personal visions and personal goals align with the company's vision. And maybe I was fortunate to get Xandro because we didn't really talk about that when I was hiring him, but it just worked out that way.
That's great. Some companies are racking their brains on trying to figure out how to get the team to align the way that you've got it. And so that's powerful that from early on you have everybody sharing a vision and a very clear strategic direction.
Mm-hmm.
So what last piece of advice would you give to anyone that's listening? A couple things. One is tell me about a new technology or about a technology that you're excited about that you've run across or that you've used in your social platforms. What's been the best tool or the most exciting tool that you've used?
I think here's a really quick one that anyone can implement in 5 minutes. Is instead of sharing bit.ly links on your social profiles, like when you share links, or using Buff as link shortener, you can use a service called Sniply, where it's the same service. They give you a shortened link, but they also place a little ad to one of your pieces of content. So whenever you're sharing someone else's content and someone clicks on it, you'll get this extra little ad for your content on the side, which is just free traffic, really. It doesn't cost any money. You just add that on. So we've been using that since we started, and it drives X amount of extra clicks every day to our site. So if someone's not using that, I'd start using that straight away. So that's with social. For something else, I like Optimizely, which is a tool which is, I don't know how they make this profitably, but you can go and create an account for free, then they'll allow you to put this stuff on your site for free, and give you amazing analytics on the split test. So I probably put up 10 different versions of the Virtual Valley homepage, and now we have one which I believe is the best. And it's completely for free. Obviously, you can get a paid account for better features, but the free account again is amazing.
That's great. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Any last bit of entrepreneurial advice for those that are just launching their service or their product, and what advice would you give them in their patience along the way or having the right vision and strategic direction?
Yeah, so I think when like you get the fear and the anxiety, which you will get, like it's natural whenever you like step out and do something different and try and build something for yourself. Two things that you need to get better at doing in order to stay in the game for the long run is A, as we mentioned earlier, like looking back at what you've achieved and being thankful and like being happy that you've managed to achieve so much that often gets forgotten. And the second is, instead of focusing so much on the physical outcomes, try to focus on what you will learn by doing this and the person that you would become. Like when I look at the journey of like going to starting a company for $4 million, I try to motivate myself by thinking about the learnings and the person that I would have to become to achieve that. So, and this makes me feel better because even if we don't reach that goal, I will still be learning so much and will become like a different and better person if I try to reach the goal. So you can't do this. And so when you look at it that way, you're more motivated, I believe.
That's great advice. Tom, thank you so much for being our guest today. If our listeners want to learn more about you and more about your services, where do they go?
Sure. So tomhunt.io is like my personal domain. You can like jump onto my marketing email list on there. tomhunt.io if you have any questions about marketing or outsourcing or the journey. And then obviously virtualvalue.io if you are looking for a virtual assistant. I have a top tip actually. If you are looking for a virtual assistant, instead of having to like go to our database, we have like a live chat app in the bottom right-hand corner, so you can speak to Xandro or his assistant directly on there. And instead of having to look through the database, you can just outline what we've outsourced, and we'll go through the database for you.
Awesome. Tom, thanks again for being our guest. I look forward to following your story and to using your service as well. So you have a great day.
Thank you, Derek. I really enjoyed that interview, and I want to thank you actually for providing information that I enjoy listening to, and I'm sure is inspiring a lot of other people like out there on their own journey. So thank you.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Stop wasting money on marketing and only do marketing that works. Order your copy of Don't Buy a Duck today. If you've ever felt lost, in need of a roadmap, if you ever wanted to get the right folks in the door and dollars in the drawer, you've opened the right book. Order your copy at www.don'tbuyaduck.com today. That's don'tbuyaduck.com.